You are nobody, or at least not in the way you might think. I don't mean that in a depressing way, it's just weird to realize how much of who we are isn't really ours. Your name, your language, even your idea of what it means to be good or bad. All of it came from somewhere. Before you even had a chance to choose, the world started choosing for you. And most of the time, we don't even notice it. We just live inside the story we've been handed. There's this idea from a theorist named Louis Althusser. He calls it interpolation. Fancy word, but the meaning's simple enough. It's like this. You're walking down the street and someone yells, "Hey you!" You turn around. In that moment, you've been pulled into a role. You weren't just a body on the street anymore. Now you're you, the one being called. You've stepped into a position the world made for you. That's what Althusser is getting at. Society hails you, calls you into being, and it happens in 100 ways we don't even register. You're called daughter, troublemaker, bright, foreign, normal, weird, and eventually you start answering to it. From the beginning, there are systems that start shaping us, not just our families, but school, religion, class, the media, the state. We're taught how to behave, how to speak, even how to want. Take school. It's not just about learning math. It's about learning how to sit still, how to show respect, and how to succeed in a very specific kind of system. And it's different depending on where you start. If you grow up working class, you might get told to be realistic about your dreams. If you're racialized, you might be called loud or intimidating for doing the same thing others get praised for. If you don't speak the dominant dialect, you might be corrected before you're ever heard. There's a term Foucault, another dense but brilliant thinker, where he says power isn't just about punishment. It's productive, it makes us. We're not just following rules. We start wanting to follow them. We internalize the gaze. And sometimes we don't even need to be watched anymore. We do the job ourselves. I used to think I was making my own choices. Music taste, clothes, how I talked, stuff like that. But when I look back, most of it wasn't as free as I thought. Even my rebellion was familiar, the kind of rebellion that was already pre-approved, the kind that looked different but didn't actually risk anything. And I think that's true for a lot of people. We play roles. We perform versions of ourselves that feel safe or acceptable or admired. Sometimes we even perform the outsider role because it gets us a kind of respect. Erving Goffman, a sociologist, once said that life is like a stage. We all have front stage selves, curated, controlled, and backstage selves that we keep for ourselves or the people we trust. But what happens when the backstage gets monetized, when even our vulnerability becomes content? I think this is why certain characters hit hard, not because they're relatable in the meme sense, but because they notice the performance. Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2 spends most of the game doing what he's supposed to. He's the tough guy, the loyal one, the enforcer. But as things fall apart, he starts asking questions about morality, about freedom, about the kind of man he's become. He starts wondering if any of it was really his choice. Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima is trained to be a noble samurai, all about honor, tradition, doing things the right way. But when that code starts failing him, he's forced to adapt, to break his own rules. He doesn't become a villain, but he becomes something his society would no longer recognize. Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2 is another one. Her whole story is driven by this script of revenge, of protecting those you love by destroying anyone who threatens them. But by the end, she's hollow. The script didn't heal her, it consumed her. And then there's BoJack Horseman. The whole show is basically a slow motion breakdown of identity. BoJack knows he's performing, as a star, as a bad boy, as a victim, but he's so deep in it, he can't tell where the performance ends. He wants to be loved, but he doesn't know who he is without the applause. And then there's Kanye, or Ye. Pre-2010, Kanye was something rare, not just talented, but disruptive in a way that felt intentional. He challenged the idea of what a rapper could be. He didn't fit the hyper-masculine gangster image. He wore pink polos, rapped about insecurities, called out systems, and somehow made it all work. He didn't just break the mold, he built a new one. But now it feels like he's stuck in a loop of rebellion for rebellion's sake. Like he's still trying to fight something, a system, an identity, maybe even himself. But the hits don't land anymore. The rebellion is still there, but the substance, the aim, it feels hollow. Less like transformation, more like a refusal to sit still. A man burning the script, but with no new story to tell. And it's not just about Kanye. It's what happens when we define ourselves against something instead of towards something. You can spend your whole life pushing back, but if there's no anchor, no purpose, no clarity, then rebellion becomes another kind of cage. Now compare that to Malcolm X. Here's a man who completely rewrote himself more than once, from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red, from Red to Malcolm X, from Malcolm X to Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz. Each shift wasn't just aesthetic. It came with new ideas, new values, a new understanding of the world and his place in it. And even when he was wrong, and he admitted he was publicly, he kept evolving, because for him, change wasn't just self-expression, it was self-examination, a way of becoming more aligned with the truth, with justice, with something bigger than his ego. I've had moments where I felt like I was being real, like this is me, finally. But a few months later, I'd look back and cringe, not because I was faking it, but because I was still trapped in some idea of who I thought I had to be. And it makes me wonder, is there even a real me under all this? Or is it all just layers of influence, parents, teachers, media, friends, all stuck together? Even when I rebelled, I was still seeking approval, just from different people. Here's the part I keep coming back to. If identity is mostly constructed, then it can be reconstructed. That doesn't mean there's no truth to who you are. It just means you might not have discovered it yet. Because if society gave you the script, maybe your job isn't to memorize it. Maybe it's to edit it, rewrite it, burn the whole thing down if you need to. Especially now, when everything feels performative, when being online means being watched, when authenticity gets measured in likes. We need to protect whatever small, quiet, messy part of ourselves feels unscripted. Foucault talked about how power flows through everything, even resistance. Even our attempts to escape can get absorbed, sold, turned into trends. But the fact that power is everywhere doesn't mean you're powerless. It just means you need to become more aware. Not paranoid, just more aware. So, you are nobody, at least not by your own design, and maybe that's okay. Maybe being nobody is what makes space for becoming somebody, on your own terms, in your own time. The question isn't, who am I really? It's, who do I want to become now that I know what's shaping me?